If you clicked on this video and you are a member of my family, please click away now. Forget everything that you saw in the thumbnail. I will know if you open your gift on Christmas morning and you are not surprised. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. Happy to have you here. We are going to go through everything gift knitting today. I do want to start this video by saying that I know gift knitting isn't for everybody. I'm hoping that you can still find some pattern recommendations for yourself in here. Personally, I love gift knitting. I just get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and I happen to have some very knit-worthy people in my family. We're starting this early. We are not procrastinating. If you are also gift knitting this year, we can hold each other accountable, and I'm hoping that at the end of this video, I'll have a good plan for patterns that I want to gift knit this year. And I'm also hoping that we could maybe turn the comments section into like a big list of recommendations. I think that would be really fun because I will share my own recommendations in this video. I'm going to start by talking about everything that I gift knit last year because I don't know how useful a planning video will be if I can't really like recommend any patterns that I haven't knit yet. So I'm going to talk about everything I gift knit last year, and then we'll roll into this year and start making some plans. I feel like this is going to be a long one, so grab a beverage. I've got my iPad in front of me if you see me looking down, and we're going to do some planning together. Okay, I'm going to start by giving you a brief introduction to my family, who are the people I will be gift knitting for this year. And as part of that, I will explain to you what I knit for them last year so that you can have a bit of context and some recommendations. Okay, so there are really two households that I am going to be gift knitting for this year, so I'm going to split them up that way. Household number one has my mom and my dad in it, and it also has Maggie. Maggie, I'm going to consider a bit of a bonus on this list because she absolutely deserves a Christmas present this year, but I also don't think she'll hold it against me if I don't get to it. So for household number one, let's talk a little bit about who's in this house and what they got for Christmas last year. So for my mom, last year I made her, I stole this back for this video, a Harris hood. I'll put it on so you can get the full effect. And keep in mind when I am showing you the gift knits from last year, these are all relatively beginner friendly. Last November, I was kind of relearning how to knit. So anything that I knit between then and Christmas, I was like a month at most into this relearning how to knit journey. So there's nothing terribly complicated here. I knit this out of Sandnes Garn Poppy. The other thing to keep in mind with my gift knits from last year is that end of November, beginning of December, I had a trip to Sweden and Norway for work. I was really, really lucky to go there. I bought a lot of yarn, and a lot of that yarn was used for gift knits. Now, that timeline also meant that I didn't have a ton of time to actually do those gift knits, and I was a little bit rushed in getting them done. But I do think that this is a great gift for something cozy if you are a little worried about fit of even something like a hat. Okay, and to make this a little bit easier to follow, since you don't actually know anyone I'm talking about, everyone is going to be represented by an emoji. My mom is a coffee cup. Moving on to my dad. My dad, I'm pretty sure, is the most knit-worthy person alive. This is going to require a short story, but when I was a kid, I knit a scarf for my dad. I was not a good knitter as a kid. We're talking about a garter stitch scarf that was made out of probably acrylic. I was somewhere between the ages of like 10 and 15, so nothing impressive. He wore that scarf for a good 15 to 20 years after that was made. And last year when I was relearning how to knit, I saw him take it out when it got cold and realized I need to replace that thing. I cannot believe he's still wearing it. So I made the Twigsy scarf, which is a pattern by Cascade Co. That was my very first color work project. And I actually think that that is a fantastic beginner color work project because you don't really need to worry about the floats too much. They just end up inside the scarf anyway. but you get like a ton of practice just because of the length of it. So I think it's another really good gift knit, especially if you're a beginner to color work, because for me, I would be wary of making a sweater or anything where I'd have to be overly concerned with the fit as a gift knit. But something like a scarf, it is still such a showstopper. It is so impressive. When my dad opened that on Christmas morning last year, my mom looked at me and said, "You didn't make that, you bought that from someone in Norway." So that's definitely like my highest recommendation for a gift if you're looking to do something like really impressive. I also made an Oslo hat by Petite Knit to match with that scarf, so it was kind of like a winter set. For context, I do live in Canada. It is very cold here, so a lot of this is surrounding like dead of winter, keeping my family warm. Finally, Maggie. I did not knit anything for a gift for Maggie last year, but I've had in mind that I really want to for a while. The reason that I really want to make something for Maggie is that she is obsessed with my knitting. Basically, anytime I leave a hand knit sweater on the bed or on the floor, she is on it. And she doesn't destroy them, she doesn't scratch them or anything, she just kind of curls up on them, and it's the sweetest thing in the world. So again, I'm considering this a bonus, but if I have time, I would love to make her something. So that household, incredibly knit-worthy. Now we're gonna move on to the second household. Okay, so household number 2 is my brother and his family. So I've got my brother, my sister-in-law, and my niece, who is 2 years old. And between now and Christmas, I will have a nephew. Okay, so there's 4 of them in that household, and in terms of what I knit for them last year, I didn't make anything for my brother and sister-in-law, but my niece, who was 1 last year, I was very excited to knit for. I brought one of the things that I knit as a gift for my niece, and I highly recommend. This is the hipster hat by Petite Knit. However, I knit this very off gauge. This was knit with Sandnes Garn Kos or Kos and Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. And this is just like the biggest, warmest, chunkiest hat. And I made a matching one for myself. Highly recommend this. I think that a ribbed hat is a great gift knit because the ribbing gives it a bit of room for error in terms of the fit, and my niece loves this. My other big recommendation for gift knits for kids is the Baby Bear Balaclava by Knitting for Olive. I made this for my niece last year. I made this out of Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair and Knitting for Olive merino, which is the recommended yarn. I was a little bit nervous about it because obviously babies, toddlers, and mohair, I was a little worried my niece would be sensitive to it. But I waited a few months and then asked her mom how she was doing with the mohair, and her mom told me that that was the only hat that she doesn't complain about putting on. Now, this was a hat that was originally recommended by Inga from Knitting Traditions, and I think it's just a great option for children in colder weather. Being able to put this on my niece when she goes to preschool daycare is just fantastic. The modification that I made was to not include mohair on the neck part of the balaclava or the part that goes right around the face. Also, obviously, this is just the cutest thing in the world. It has the cutest pattern picture in the world on Ravelry. Like, imagine if you were in the grocery store and you turn the corner and you just see like a toddler with ears. It's the cutest thing. Okay, so now we've got our full list here. I will say that I didn't knit anything last year for my brother or my sister-in-law. It's not that this household is not knit-worthy. It is that I don't necessarily trust my younger brother to do laundry properly. So another relevant piece of information is that this household is going to have a newborn around Christmas. So now for our Ravelry deep dive, what I like to do is kind of go through my favorites. I spend so much time on Ravelry that my favorites are quite full, so there isn't much reason to go and do like a brand new search when I could just search through things that I have already liked. Now, one thing that I'm seeing right away that I've favorited for gift knit reasons is the Kitten Catch Mittens, which is a new release from Florence Miller. And these are just the cutest things I've ever seen. Now, I have never made mittens before, so that's relevant, but I am planning to make the songbird mittens, I think they're called. I'm planning to make those for myself. So my thinking is I can make those and then have some confidence with these. And my brother's household has 4 cats in it. So I think this would be a really good gift for my brother and possibly my sister-in-law as well. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do is take note of the yarn needed for the patterns that I'm interested in, because if I can match that up with any yarn I already have, that would be ideal. Okay, so this pattern is calling for 180 meters and 130 meters of fingering weight yarn. That actually sounds perfect for a gift knit because I definitely have sock yarn lying around that would work really well and would be washable for this household. So that's making me really excited about that plan. Okay, I'm gonna tentatively say that this is a plan for my sister-in-law. My brother possibly as well. However, the more I think about it, he would definitely lose these on the bus on like day 1. So might end up looking for a hat pattern for him. Although, I wonder if I could take that color work chart and put it on a hat. I bet I could. So that's something to think about. These socks are one that I have in mind for a gift knit. These are the DRK Everyday Socks by Andrea Mowry. Now, normally I would be a little bit nervous about using socks as a gift knit because of fit reasons. However, these ones are ribbed, which means that the fit of them should be a lot more forgiving, and I already have yarn in mind for it. And these come in a lot of different sizes. This is for my dad, and I did mention that I already have yarn for this. I picked up some yarn from Songbird Fibers at a local fiber festival. You can see that my dad is represented here by a feather. He really likes birds. He is going to love having some chickadee bird socks. And I'm actually going to put a check mark next to that because I already have the yarn for sure. The mittens I'm a little less sure of. I'm sure that I have maybe some main color available, but we'll have to look into whether I have anything that would work as a contrast color. Okay, I feel good about this. This is 2 down. So for my mom, her hands get cold. So I do love the idea of making her mittens. What I'm gonna do is look through my favorites on Ravelry and specifically look at what mittens I have favorited, because I know that I've done a lot, but I'm not quite sure which ones would suit my mom. Yeah, so I've saved 35 mitten patterns on Ravelry, so one of them should work. Ooh. Immediately, pretty drawn to the Bunny Wishes one. This is intricate. That looks really nice. Okay, that's definitely a possibility. Is that also fingering weight? Yes. Okay, so that's maybe another chance to use up some sock yarn, which I love for a gift knit. Oh, and Sandnes Co. also has bunny mittens. Sandnes mittens. Ooh, these are really nice. Okay, and that also says fingering, but it is... Okay, Ravelry's kind of funny like this. It's really fingering plus lace. So a 24 stitch gauge, more of like sport DK, I think. So that could work. I would probably just have to buy yarn for it, but it would be really quick. I feel like that's really nice. And I actually love the non-matching ones. I'm gonna go ahead and save this and put that in tentatively, but I'm going to keep in mind that if I do want to use sock yarn instead, there is that other bunny mitten pattern. Oh, I didn't realize that Sasky was short for Saskatchewan. That's amazing. Okay, and this does not use a lot of yarn. I would probably end up doing the middle size, and we are looking at 65 meters of each. Okay, this is looking really good. Now, for my niece and nephew, I do already have something in mind. So like I said, I've already made the baby bear balaclava. It was a huge winner. My niece has grown and my nephew is going to need one too, so I am planning to make 2 of these. If you watched my last podcast, you'll know that I currently have an order from Knitting for Olive that is stuck because of a Canada Post strike. There is yarn for this project in that order. So I'm not sure if this will be a Christmas present or if it will be something that I give them a little early, but this is definitely something on my list. And I'm obviously going to save this cutest picture in the world to go on my list. And for the yarn for this one, I'm just going to put a check mark because it's on the way. I have it ordered, so that's great. Okay, so I am thinking about Maggie now. And I know that I've saved dog patterns in the past. I love that Sari Nordland has a dog sweater. And I'm so tempted to make this. Okay, so this is in DK weight. How do you measure dog sizes? I might have to figure that out. Maggie is... who knows? She's probably maybe like a size 2. She's not a Chihuahua. She's also not a Great Dane. Okay, so if she is a size 2, this is saying I could get away with 220 meters of DK weight yarn. I mean, I need to do this, right? Tell me in the comments if I need to make Maggie her Christmas present. I'm going to put that there. And that was 220 meters of DK weight yarn. And I would obviously want that to be probably superwash. She does like wool, so I'm not sure I'd want to make it acrylic. So the only thing left here is my brother, and then possibly a second gift for my niece and nephew. So going back to my Ravelry favorites, I was thinking my brother will definitely lose mittens. There's no way he doesn't. He came over yesterday and said that he had forgotten his laptop at work and then had to go back to work just to get it. So what I'm gonna do is look through my favorites for hats specifically. The search and filter options on Ravelry are just so good. Okay, I don't know if any of these are really calling out to me, but I do love these colorwork hats, and I think that colorwork is always a great gift for using scraps and also just having something that looks a little impressive. So I wouldn't do this pattern for my brother, but what if I could figure out how to do a colorwork hat that makes use of that cat pattern? We're gonna do that. We're gonna do a colorwork hat. I am going to figure it out. And so for my niece and nephew, they are both getting a baby bear balaclava for sure, if the yarn comes. Big if. But I also want to look at what other children's patterns I have saved on Ravelry, because again, this is like an if I have time, but I would love to make like maybe matching sweaters. I feel like not necessarily Christmas sweaters. Like I know that Knitting for Olive does those annual ones, which are so, so cute. But I feel like a Christmas sweater for a kid, it's only really going to be worn once because by the next year it might not fit anymore. So I feel like I'd rather do like a regular sweater that they could at least wear throughout the year. Okay, so I'm looking at things that I have saved for baby or child. And I also want to specify clothing. I mean, oh my goodness, some of these are so cute. Something like, so I know that petite knit kids patterns would probably be like a really safe bet, which is great. I think I prefer the Storm sweater to the Ingrid sweater though. So I feel like the Storm sweater would be an option, but also the Porcelain Sweater Junior. That would be so great as a gift because it could be vaguely seasonal, but that could also definitely be worn year-round. I'm gonna put a couple of children's sweaters on my list just so that I can keep them in mind and not forget about them. Yeah, the Storm Sweater Junior too is just so cute. And this looks like it would be very quick and very potato chippy because of all those different textures that are so short because it's for kids. So those are also children's options. I'm not going to go to the trouble yet of figuring out the yarn for it because I'm going to consider that to be a bit of a bonus, but it is definitely on my radar. And I think this is my plan, guys. So I've got bunny mittens for my mom, the chickadee socks for my dad, definitely a sweater for Maggie. Maggie deserves a sweater. I need to do the sweater for Maggie. Then this cat pattern for my brother and his wife, but I'm hoping to turn it into a hat for my brother because those mittens would not last a day. And then for my niece and nephew, definitely the baby bear balaclava, and then I'm gonna start thinking about sweater options too. So I am filming this early-ish October, so I'd have at least 2 months left to get all of this done. And just from looking at these yarn amounts, this seems really doable, which is exciting. So this has been very helpful to go through all of this with you all. And again, hopefully you found this useful. Hopefully some of my recommendations help. And if you have any of your own recommendations for gift knits or yarn to use for gifts for others who maybe don't like wool or maybe have sensitivities, then I think that would be really helpful that if we can all help each other out in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you probably with my next podcast episode.